My name is Charlotte. I'm 33 years old. For the past few years, I've lived a life that looked peaceful from the outside. Quiet mornings, steady work, long walks home. But peace isn't always the same as happiness. Sometimes it's just the silence you build around your pain. I wasn't always this guarded. I used to believe in love the way children believe in summer, warm, endless, and safe. I was engaged once. His name was Daniel. We met when I was 26, and for a while it felt like everything was finally falling into place. He was charming, successful, and had this way of making me believe I was the only woman in the room. We were together for 3 years. We planned a wedding, browsed apartments, talked about having 2 children and a dog. I believed in him with my whole heart. Then, just 5 months before our wedding, he left me. He said the love had changed, that he didn't feel the same. But the truth came out soon after. He had fallen for someone else, a younger woman he had met at work. She was fresh out of university, bright-eyed, full of energy. 22, I was shattered. It wasn't just the betrayal, it was the way he made me feel disposable, like I had aged out of love, like youth was more valuable than history, than depth, than the years we had built together. After that, I stopped trying. I buried myself in work, avoided parties, ignored every attempt friends made to set me up. I told myself I was content, that solitude was better than heartbreak, and maybe for a while it was. But deep down, a part of me mourned something more than the man. I mourned who I used to be. The version of Charlotte who loved with her whole heart, who dreamed in color, who believed in forever. That version of me went quiet. Until a few weeks ago, when I signed up for a photography class. It was meant to be something small, a hobby, a way to fill my Tuesday and Thursday evenings with something other than the ache of routine. I wasn't expecting much, certainly not change. The class was held at the local arts center in a room that smelled of dust and fresh paint. There were a dozen of us. Some younger, some older, some chasing a new passion, others just looking for company. That's where I first noticed him. But that story, the story of how he gently stirred something back to life in me, that begins later. For now, this is who I was. A woman who had loved deeply and been left behind. A woman who had taught herself how to stay whole by building walls. A woman who wasn't looking for love anymore. The second week of photography class, we were given a simple assignment. Capture stillness in movement, the instructor said, smiling. Let your camera find something human in what's always changing. We were told to pair up. I was flipping through my notebook when someone's voice broke through the quiet. Would you like to partner with me? I looked up. He stood a few feet away, holding a camera bag, eyes warm and patient. There was something gentle in the way he asked, not pushy, not overly eager, just open. I nodded. Sure. His name was Travis. We spent the afternoon exploring an old part of the city, searching for moments worth freezing. The streets were uneven, lined with vines and cracked pavement. Wind moved through narrow alleys, stirring fallen leaves into motion. What surprised me most wasn't how well we worked together. It was how easy he made silence feel. Travis didn't talk to fill space. When he spoke, his words carried weight. Not because they were loud, but because they were thoughtful. This alley, he said, pointing to a line of old buildings with fading paint. There's a kind of quiet here, like time paused. He saw the world differently, gently, attentively. Do you do photography full-time? I asked, as we waited for the light to shift. He shook his head. No, I work in urban that just helps me slow down. That made sense. Everything about him felt intentional. measured. He noticed things most people passed over. A cat curled in a window, the light catching the edge of a crumbling wall, the way people looked when they thought no one was watching. I found myself relaxing around him. Something in his presence made it feel safe to breathe a little deeper. We talked about books, art, and cityscapes. I told him how I used to love taking pictures when I was younger, how I had lost that part of myself for a while. He didn't ask why, he just listened, really listened, like my words mattered, even the quiet ones. At the end of the day, he walked me back to the main road. "Thanks for today," I said. He smiled. "Thank you. You notice things others don't. That's rare." I felt a warmth in my chest that startled me. It wasn't attraction, not exactly. It was recognition, a sense that I had been seen. That maybe, for the first time in years, someone wasn't just looking at me. They were looking into me. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to understand what felt so different. Travis hadn't tried to impress me. He hadn't flirted or performed. He had just been there. Steady, present, kind. It had been so long since anyone had been all three. We met again the next Thursday. Another class, another assignment, this time portraits in natural light. "Let's go to the park," Travis suggested, slinging his camera bag over his shoulder. "Mid-morning light's soft. It'll work well with shadows." I nodded, almost forgetting how unusual this felt, me agreeing, me trusting. There was something easy about being around him, the way he didn't rush, the way his voice never pushed, only offered. We walked slowly through the quiet park paths, both of us stopping now and then to frame the world through our lenses. He was focused, but never cold. His presence had weight, like an anchor you didn't realize you needed until the tide came in. As he crouched to photograph an elderly man feeding birds, I found myself watching him. The way his brow furrowed with concentration, the way he waited patiently for the right moment rather than forcing it. He turned and caught my gaze. "What?" he asked, smiling. "Nothing," I replied quickly, looking away. "You're just very patient." "It's not something I've always been good at," he said, "but life teaches you to slow down, especially when the right things take time." I looked at him then, really looked, and again that quiet recognition stirred inside me. I remembered what it felt like to be emotionally safe. To be with someone who didn't play games, who didn't rush or retreat, and that scared me. We sat on a bench for a break, the breeze playing with strands of my hair. He noticed and gently handed me a small hair clip from his bag. "In case you want it," he said. "I keep it for my sister. Wind always bothers her too." I smiled, surprised again, thoughtful always. As we sipped coffee from paper cups, we talked about the past. I told him about my childhood, my love for old films, my years of silence after the breakup I never saw coming. He didn't pry, but he listened like each sentence was a fragile leaf he didn't want to crush. I found myself saying things I hadn't shared in years, not because I had planned to, but because his calm made it feel okay. He shared a bit too, his love for design, his quiet childhood, how he learned to read people not by what they said, but by what they didn't. "You make people feel at ease. It's rare," I told him. He tilted his head, his smile soft. "Maybe I just try to be what I once needed," he said. Something in my chest stirred again. I quickly stood, brushing off my jeans. "We should get back. Class ends in 20, I said softly. He nodded, standing beside me, but I saw the flicker of concern in his eyes. He hadn't done anything wrong. But I was pulling away, just a little, because side me was waking up, and that was dangerous. That night, I stared at my phone for a long time, his number saved but unmessaged. I wasn't ready to feel anything. Not again, not now. But when I closed my eyes, I kept hearing his voice. The right things take time. That weekend, Travis invited me to a small, elegant art exhibit, the kind of place where time seemed to slow and every detail asked to be noticed. When I arrived, he greeted me with that familiar warmth, his eyes lighting up the moment they met mine, as if I were the only person in the world. He always made me feel that way, truly seen, deeply heard, and effortlessly adored. The day was perfect until we sat down at a quiet cafe afterward. We were laughing over a joke when he said it casually between sips of his coffee. I used to come here a lot when I was in college. What, 6 years ago now? I blinked. 6 years ago? I asked. He nodded, smiling. Yeah, I was 21 back then, still figuring life out. He said. My heart dropped. I tried to stay calm, to keep my face steady, but inside, everything shifted. You're 27, I said, almost in a whisper. Travis looked up, sensing my change in tone. Yes, I am, he replied gently. My heart sunk. I just nodded slowly and turned my gaze to the window. Suddenly, the difference felt heavy, too real. I was 33. I had been engaged once. I'd seen life, heartbreak, and disappointment. Though he was still in his 20s, Travis had already found his path. He had achieved more than many do by 30, shaped by rich experiences and quiet strength. But the number still lingered, a quiet echo of the years that separated us. The rest of the date felt quieter. I was polite, even smiled, but my mind was elsewhere. I didn't touch my tea. I kept remembering how my ex-fiancé had left me for a younger woman. I remembered how everyone had looked at me with that silent pity. And now here I was, falling for someone even younger than I. In the following days, I started pulling back. I canceled one of our dates, saying I was tired. I stopped replying to his texts with the same warmth. He noticed. Of course he did. One evening, Travis showed up at my door. I hadn't expected him, but there he stood, hands in his pockets, concern written all over his face. Charlotte, talk to me. I can feel you drifting away. Is it because of my age? He said softly. I looked at him, startled, then lowered my eyes. I didn't mean to pull away. I didn't know. And now that I do, I can't stop thinking about it. I murmured. He stepped closer and said, But why does it have to change anything? Because people will talk, because I've already been left once for a younger woman. Do you know how that feels? Now I'm the older one. The chances are way higher I can't go through that again. Travis took my hand, his voice calm and steady. Charlotte, I'm not here for a phase. I'm not here because I think you're convenient or exciting. I'm here because I love who you are. Your mind, your heart, your strength. That has nothing to do with numbers. I wanted to believe him. I wanted to melt into his words, but doubt clung to me like a shadow. Later that night, I called my best friend Lillian and narrated what had been happening in the past weeks. Am I being foolish? I asked her. I mean, he's 6 years younger. She paused, then said, Do you love him? I'm falling, fast, I whispered. Then that's what matters, she said. Age is just a number. What you two share, that connection, it's rare. Don't throw it away because people might not understand. After the call ended, I sat in silence, my heart tangled in confusion. I was caught between the pain of my past, the weight of others' opinions, and the quiet pull of what I truly felt. In the stillness of my room, one thing echoed louder than everything else, Travis's voice, steady and sincere. "I'm here because I love who you are." Still, I avoided seeing him for days, turning down his gentle invitations, finding reasons to keep my distance. Not because I didn't care, but because I cared too much. It was easier to hide than to risk another heartbreak, but Travis didn't give up. While I withdrew, he remained, steadfast, patient, quietly waiting for my walls to lower. He sent little messages, not demanding, just thoughtful. "Hope you slept well. Saw something today that reminded me of you. No pressure, just here when you're ready." His patience was louder than any words. That evening, I called Lillian again. "He's not pushing," I said. "He's not asking for anything." "That's because real love doesn't demand," she replied softly. "It waits, it listens, and it stays, even when it's hard." And that's exactly what he's doing, Charlotte. So the next weekend, I agreed to meet him, just for a walk, nothing dramatic. We strolled through a quiet park, the kind with tall trees and long, winding paths. He didn't mention the distance I'd put between us. He just walked beside me, occasionally brushing his hand against mine, like he was reminding me he was still there. Halfway through the path, I stopped. "I'm scared," I admitted, the words slipping from somewhere deep. "Of getting hurt, of looking foolish, of being left behind again." Travis turned to me, his eyes steady. "Then let me show you I won't run. Let me walk with you until you stop being afraid," he said with passion. There was no pressure, no perfect speech, just presence, consistency, kindness, all the things I didn't know I needed. That night, as I lay in bed, I whispered to myself, maybe love isn't about perfect timing. Maybe it's about being brave enough to let it in. And slowly, I felt the door I'd locked begin to open, just a little. I didn't know exactly when the fear began to loosen its grip. Maybe it was the quiet mornings when he'd send a photo of a sunrise captioned with something silly like, "A new day and I'm still thinking of you." Maybe it was how he didn't flinch when I went silent, or how he never made me feel guilty for needing space. Whatever it was working. Travis never tried to win me over. He just stayed, like a lighthouse, not chasing the ship, just being there when I needed to find my way back. We started spending time together again, slowly, intentionally. One weekend I invited him over for dinner. Nothing fancy, just a quiet evening, home-cooked pasta and soft jazz humming in the background. "Are you always this graceful when you stir sauce?" he teased, watching me. "No," I laughed. "Only when I'm trying to impress someone." He grinned. Mission accomplished. We ate on my tiny balcony, the city lights flickering behind us. I told him about my childhood, about my dream of owning a little art cafe, about how for years I'd buried that dream under the weight of playing it safe. He listened like every word mattered. At one point I paused. "You really want this, don't you? Me?" Travis leaned forward. "Yes, and not just the easy parts. I want the real parts, the scarred parts, the tired parts, the complicated, guarded, beautiful you." His words softened the ache that had once convinced me I wasn't worth fighting for. That night, after he left, I curled into bed and whispered aloud to the quiet, "Maybe this is what it feels like to be chosen without asking to be." And for the first time in a very long time, I slept without overthinking. I felt seen, safe, maybe even loved. It was one of those Sundays soaked in golden light. The air carried a soft, quiet hush of contentment, and everything about the day felt gentle, unrushed. Travis and I had just finished wandering through a small, cozy art gallery nestled behind a bookstore. He knew I loved local art. He remembered details most people forget. As we stepped out onto the quiet street, I felt his hand gently brush against mine, and when I looked up, he had stopped walking. His face was calm, but I saw the emotion in his eyes, serious, warm, filled with something unspoken. "Charlotte," he said, his voice low and steady, "you've become something rare in my life, something I didn't know I was looking for until I found you. I've fallen for you. Not just the way you smile or how your eyes light up when you talk about things you love, but for who you are. Entirely. I want to walk with you through everything that lies ahead. I want to be yours alone if you'll have me." My heart swelled in my chest. Time paused for a breath. The world around us, cars, people, even sound, seemed to blur into stillness. And in the center of it all, there he was. "Yes," I said softly. "Yes, I'd love that." From that moment on, my life unfolded like a story I never believed I could live again. Dating Travis felt like waking up in the middle of a dream where everything was calm and safe and deeply beautiful. He didn't chase me with noise or pressure. He pursued me with patience, with kindness, with care that never asked me to perform, only to be. He remembered how I liked my tea. He noticed when I was overwhelmed and quietly took tasks off my plate without making a show of it. He never made me feel like I was difficult to love. If anything, he made me feel like being loved by him was my birthright. He cared for me so tenderly, like I was his baby, and I loved it. With him, I felt protected. I felt safe every single time we were together. There were candlelit dinners where he read poetry he'd written for me, soft, slow verses about how I made the world feel warmer. There were nights when we'd dance barefoot in my kitchen, laughing into each other's shoulders as the world outside kept spinning. He had taken countless photos of me, capturing each moment like it was a treasure, turning everyday memories into something eternal. One evening, we sat under a navy sky speckled with stars. We had a blanket thrown over both our shoulders, the kind of silence between us that felt full, not empty. I turned to him and whispered, "I don't know how I got this lucky." He took my hand and brought it to his chest. "You weren't lucky, Charlotte," he said. "You were ready. You opened your heart even when it was scared. And I promise I will never take that lightly. Ever." In him I found something rare, not just romance, but sanctuary. He didn't just love me, he cherished me. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't bracing for the hurt. I was leaning into the softness, the safety, the wonder of being loved slowly, deeply, and truly. Months passed like petals turning on a soft breeze, quiet, delicate, and beautiful. Life didn't change in loud ways. It changed in the subtle things. The way I smiled without hesitation, the way my laughter came easier, the way I reached for Travis's hand in public without a second thought. I used to be the woman who flinched at hope, who shielded her heart after it had once shattered, but Travis, he loved me in a way that didn't just heal me. He helped me remember who I was before the heartbreak, and more than that, he helped me become someone new, stronger, softer, fuller. We traveled, explored, and shared long walks where words weren't needed. Sometimes we stayed home, wrapped in quiet conversations, sipping wine and telling each other old stories. He loved my past, even the pieces I once tried to hide. He treated my pain like something sacred and my dreams like something precious. One evening, he held my face in both hands and said, "Loving you has been the most natural thing I've ever done. I want to grow old with you. Not because I have to, but because there's nowhere else I'd rather be. And I believed him. With all my heart, I did. The age difference? It melted away. Because maturity isn't measured in numbers, it's measured in presence, in kindness, and in how gently you hold the hearts of those you love. Travis had more wisdom in his eyes than many men twice his age. He had more patience than I ever thought I deserved. And more importantly, he never once made me feel like I had to shrink to be loved. He loved the woman I was every year, every scar, every triumph. I once thought love had an expiration date, that the window had closed for me. But here I was, standing in the golden hour of life, with someone who saw me clearly and chose me anyway. And I chose him back, with open arms, with a soft smile, with a steady heart. We didn't need fireworks or fairy tales. We just needed what we had. Two people, one quiet kind of magic, and a future we both believed in. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, comment, and share. To enjoy more emotional and inspiring stories, kindly subscribe.